You can't eat it, it won't keep you warm, it won't protect you from a predator or build you a shelter. By every rule of survival, music should never have existed. And yet every human culture ever discovered, without a single exception, makes it. We were carving instruments before we invented writing. So why? Why did a species fighting for its life spend precious energy on sound? To understand how strange this really is, you have to think the way evolution does. Evolution is ruthless. Every trait you carry, every instinct, every drop of energy your body spends has to earn its place. The things that help you survive and reproduce get passed on. The things that waste energy get quietly deleted across the generations. So when something useless shows up, something that costs time and effort but seemingly does nothing for survival, and it doesn't just survive but spreads to every corner of the planet, that's a genuine mystery. And music is exactly that mystery. Let's start with how old it actually is. Deep in the caves of southern Germany, archaeologists found flutes carved from bird bone and mammoth ivory. The oldest are around 40,000 years old. That's older than agriculture, older than the wheel, older than writing by tens of thousands of years. Think about what that means. Before humans could record a single word, before they planted a single field, they were sitting in cold caves, carefully drilling finger holes into hollow bone to get the notes just right. That is not a casual hobby. That is effort. Deliberate, skilled, time-consuming effort from people who had every reason to spend that time finding food instead. And those flutes are just the oldest ones we've found. Singing, clapping, drumming on logs and stones, none of that leaves a fossil. So music is almost certainly far older than the instruments that survived. It may be tens of thousands of years older still. So we're left with the question, in a world that punished wasted energy, what was music actually for? For a long time, the first answer seemed obvious. Music was about attraction. Charles Darwin himself suggested it. Look at the animal kingdom, he said, and you see it everywhere. Birdsong, the calls of whales, the chirping of crickets. In so many species, the males produce elaborate sounds for one reason, to attract a mate and outcompete their rivals. A complex, beautiful song is a kind of advertisement. It says, look how healthy I am, look how clever, look how much spare energy I have to make something this intricate. So maybe human music started the same way, a way to show off, a peacock's tail made of sound. Sing well, play well, win a partner, pass on your genes. It's a neat theory, and there's probably some truth in it, but the more closely scientists looked, the more it started to crack. Because human music doesn't behave like a mating call. A peacock's tail is for one purpose, aimed at one audience. But humans make music together. We sing in groups, we drum in circles, we march, we chant, we harmonize. Mothers hum to babies who couldn't care less about choosing a mate. Entire communities make music with no romantic motive at all. If music were really just about attraction, it would be a solo performance. Instead, again and again, it's a group activity, and that points to something very different. Here's where the strange survival reason finally comes into focus. Music may have survived not because it helped individuals compete, but because it helped groups stick together. To understand why that matters, you have to remember just how fragile early humans were. We weren't strong, we weren't fast, we had no claws, no armor, no venom. Alone, a single human in the wild is almost helpless. Our entire survival strategy was the group. Cooperation was everything. A tribe that could trust each other, coordinate, and act as one had a real chance. A tribe that fractured into suspicious, selfish individuals did not. And bonding a group of people together is harder than it sounds. You need trust, you need shared emotion, you need a way to feel like one unit instead of a collection of strangers. That's a problem evolution had to solve, and music, it turns out, is an astonishingly good solution. When people make music together, something measurable happens in the brain and body. Moving in rhythm with others, singing the same melody at the same time, it synchronizes us.
Studies have found that people who sing or move in time together feel more connected, more trusting, and more willing to cooperate afterward. Group music making releases the brain's bonding chemistry, the same systems involved in closeness and belonging. It quite literally makes a crowd feel like a family. Imagine an early human tribe gathered around a fire at night. They chant together, they clap, they stamp, they move in unison. For those minutes, dozens of separate minds are locked into one shared rhythm, one shared feeling. The boundaries between individuals soften. They become briefly a single emotional organism. That feeling is not a side effect. That feeling might be the whole point. A group bound together by music would have coordinated better, trusted more, fought for each other harder, and survived where a fractured group fell apart. Over thousands of generations, the tribes that made music together were the tribes that stayed together and stayed alive. But there's a second, quieter piece to this, and it starts at the very beginning of every human life. Long before a child can understand a single word, it understands melody. Across every culture on Earth, parents sing to their infants, and they do it in a remarkably similar way: slow, high, gentle, repetitive. We call it lullaby, but scientists have a broader name for the sing-song way adults speak to babies. And it works. That musical voice calms a distressed infant, regulates its heartbeat, helps it sleep, and strengthens the bond between parent and child. For a helpless newborn, that bond is survival itself. A baby that stays calm, that stays close, that keeps its caregiver attentive and attached is a baby far more likely to live. Music, in its simplest form, may have been the oldest tool we have for keeping our children alive. So now look back at that paradox we started with. Music that can't be eaten, can't shelter you, can't fight off a predator, useless by the cold logic of survival. Except it was never useless. It was doing something invisible, something that didn't show up as a full belly or a warm fire, but as something just as vital. It held groups together, it built trust between strangers, it calmed infants and bonded them to the people who would protect them. In a species whose single greatest survival weapon was each other, music was the technology that turned a crowd into a community. It wasn't a luxury layered on top of survival. It may have been part of the machinery of survival itself. And that's why it still moves you the way it does. When a song gives you chills, when a melody you've never heard makes your eyes sting, when a beat pulls a whole room together in motion, that's not random. That's an ancient system firing exactly as it was built to. You are feeling the echo of something that kept our ancestors alive tens of thousands of years ago in the dark around the fire. We didn't invent music despite the struggle to survive. We may have invented it because of that struggle. It was never separate from staying alive.